Welcome to another episode with your girl, Strong Nurse, and a friend, Janine, with Epic Travel Staffing. And today we're going to talk about something that is making me really sad. Like, so sad, in fact, that my coworkers were like, Ashley, what's wrong? And I'm just like, well, travel nurse rates, they have dropped so much, in fact, that I had to start considering a staff position. And that was the saddest day of my life. Is when staff nursing was starting to pay more than travel nursing in the state of California. I'm just like, hold on, wait. So let me give you a little backstory, though. 10 years ago, I pulled up a contract from 2014 when I was working with Epic Travel Staffing at UCLA. And I pulled the rate. I was making $25.57 a week. Okay. It is now 2024.
Wait, I have to throw this out there though, because this is a huge factor of why you made $2,500 a week.
Okay.
UCLA has really competitive rates, but they only take travelers who live outside of California. They only take travelers at the BSN, and they only take travelers at the Trauma Level 1 Magnet experience, like our teaching. And at that time, they did not have a VMS. They acquired a VMS about 2018, 2019.
Okay.
So that changed everything, obviously.
Okay. So yes. So now with all of the changes and the same with agencies and
right.
What is it, the top 6 that are monopolizing all of the jobs and stuff and the VMSs and whatnot. I am making what am I making? Like, all I know is I must work 48 hours to earn $3,000 a week before taxes. Like, that's where I'm at now. I don't see people on job boards on Facebook literally scrambling to try and find a job that is in 36 to 48 hours that pays what? I've seen some outrageous $4,000, $5,000 a week. I'm just like, as a med-surg nurse? No, honey.
Well, Texas, the average right now is between $1,500 and $1,800. Yeah. We have some one-offs, of course, but that used to be normal for Texas. But we're also talking pre-COVID, when inflation wasn't 20% higher. So now again, all facilities right now, their number one driving force is what?
Money.
Saving money, but bringing on staff.
Yes.
So I feel like it's going to be the year of the staff brigade.
I feel like it's the year of the staff. You want to know what's so bad? Is my mom. My mom has been a travel nurse. She's been a nurse for 27 years. And I think my mom has been a travel nurse for at least a solid maybe 23 or something like that.
Oh, so she's probably seen all kinds of fun things.
She went staff. I found out she went staff. I was just like, what? What? You went staff? She was like, yes. And she was
really good right now.
No, it's not looking good for me.
Oh gosh.
It's not looking good for me, which is why I'm so sad. I'm just like, man, I'm actually going to have to consider taking a staff position. So with that being said, okay, California has the highest taxes in the country. So I am very well aware of that. So what I've had to do is I have had to look at my current contract and take my stipend, and I take my stipend and I multiply that times the tax rate of about 30%, right? Because that's what a tax-free dollar is worth. What every tax-free dollar is worth $1.30, I believe. So I times 30 to get my full taxed pay package, and then I compare that to what I would earn as a staff nurse, and then basically I compare the benefits of the staff job versus the benefits of the travel job. And so my point of this conversation is to determine what I would be giving up going staff, right?
Right. That's interesting. I've never thought to look up how much your tax-free dollar is worth on a taxable scale.
I mean, if you really want to go down, the best way to determine if you're actually making the same amount of money or not is to figure out how much your stipend is worth taxed, right?
I mean, I guess I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I would just tax it normal though. In the state of California, they take almost 45% of
you're
taxes.
right. You're fucking right. God damn it, I know this.
About implementing more tax laws, which I literally like. I'm born and raised SoCal, Long Beach girl in the house. I don't understand like where, because I moved.
I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I mean, like, this thing. Taxes will not pay me enough as a nurse. It just won't. It doesn't. Like, to support everything that I'm trying to do, because I'm not your regular travel nurse. I'm actually branding, like creating a big ass brand. That costs a lot of money. Taking care of me also costs a lot of money on top of having to duplicate expenses and everything between two different states. So, like, I have really cut my budget. Let me tell you, I have thinned it out. I'm just like, I can't go no thinner. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to start figuring out something else to do.
Well, I lost my train of thought. But for travelers to go staff, I always tell people, like, you just got to weigh out the pros and cons, kind of like you said, and kind of like how I've said in the past. Like, it's just like a mortgage contract or renter's agreement. It's the same idea. Like, they all have different things. You just have to read through it and make sure what works for you. Now, I don't, mostly not California. California is lucrative because they got overtime after 8 in a shift, right?
Right.
And then you got double time after 12 hours in a shift. There's no other state that does that. But in terms of like Nebraska, yeah, you're going to make more money than you are at a staff job in Nebraska than being a traveler. On the one immediate thing is that you get paid every week. Like, nobody gets paid every week.
Right.
Still a huge portion of your pay is tax-free. Staff doesn't get tax-free. Now, you have different compensations as far as like what you're paying into, as far as like your insurances, your 401k, stuff like that. Obviously, that's dependent on your agency. But when you go to staff, you know, they're working all of that into your salary. You know, I don't think people think about that because, hey, I can make more than that as a staff, but do you really? Because, you know, this might be the gross that they're offering you over a year, but once you start chipping away and adding your union fees and taking the taxes out, and even if you sign on for a bonuses are great, but a lot of them are asking for 2 to 3 year requirements, and I've even seen 5 in some instances, which I'm like, there's no way. You're asking somebody for 5 years of life. And maybe if it was like someone who just got married and they're thinking about having kids and starting a family, like that might appeal to them. But even then, like, do you have growth opportunity? Like, I think that is a real personal question though, because I know people who are totally, they're fine. We're here. We're good. We make good money and I'm just living my life. And then you got people like me who's a little psychotic and I'm like, no, I got to climb the ladder and I got to justify my, like, I got to do greatness like all the time, you know?
Right.
So like, if for me, I couldn't do a 5-year contract unless I knew there was some sort of growth somewhere because I would feel very stagnant and not fulfilled and it wouldn't work for me.
I love that. I love that you considered even that being my recruiter. Like, what would it be like if I was to be staff, right? So I guess the other thing is, okay, so you're right. California, taxes, astronomical. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So a lot of nurses out here work 2 jobs, okay? And they usually work a full-time job and a part-time job or 2 full-times or
or they're full-time and they're overtime queens and they work like 80 hours a week at one job. Yeah.
Yes, they do. Because you got to. So I guess my question is this. So there are some nurses that I've come across out here that are staff nurses at hospitals, but also are travel nurses too. So okay, so it's okay to do that. So let's say you live in another state, and I've met them, right? They're from, say, like Ohio or something. Have a staff job at like Kaiser, right? But I'm working a travel assignment at like, you know,
Sacramento.
Yeah, in Sacramento or something.
Yeah. As long as you're 50 miles or greater from your permanent address. Now, that's not a written in stone thing either. Like, we can get started on a whole, we might have to do one on taxes, but in general, there's more, especially since COVID, I'm seeing more and more and more, and I could keep saying more and more vendors or facilities or both putting requirements on your mile radius. And I've had issues where it's like, has to be 50 miles from the perm address on your license to the facility. Well, I've had instances where they're 52 miles and they still don't take them. Or they'll be like, well, we'll wait and see if anybody else comes through that's further. Now, you could attest to this because you're in the big city currently, technically. You're considered a big city area. You're like between San Jose and San Francisco.
Right.
But people who come from smaller areas might not necessarily understand how that works. And I say that because born and raised in Long Beach, California, like you want me to go greater than 50 miles, like you're insane. Like you're literally insane. But now where I live in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, 50 miles? Okay, no problem. Whatever. Like, sure, sign me up. And so you really got to like weigh it out, right? Because 50 miles in from San Francisco to Oakland, that might work. I think that's about 50 miles. So, and some people are totally fine with that, especially if they can work on a block schedule between the two and just have like a day off or whatever it is. Right. And they're fine. But then you have instances where you're in like Los Angeles, California, and it's not even 50 miles to Riverside. And that is such a nightmare drive. Like no, thank you.
I understand. I used to work in Los Angeles, so I do get it. I hated driving in LA. That's the reason why I live so close to UCLA when I was out there. So now, I'm up here in the Bay and I love living close to where I work. So I'm like a 15 minutes type of person. So my thing is this. So I would like to continue to do both. I'd like to continue to travel, and unfortunately, like get a staff job, something like that, or a part-time job to further, like you say, ascend to greatness, because that's what I'm working on. And it costs money to be great. Let me tell you.
What the heck? That was a lie someone told us. I am a huge proponent to telling a lot of my travelers to stay as staff per diem or find a staff per diem and just do those monthly quotas. And then whenever you have more time or you're in between contracts or you're like, I need a break, just work as much as you can, because sometimes you can't always make it back. And then it really does help fill the gaps on your profile, which HCA, they're famous for not wanting to see any gaps on your profile. So if you've taken 8 weeks off, 6 weeks off, 3 weeks off, and there's a gap, they will tell you that you're not qualified to submit for that travel position. So, I mean, it really depends. Some people are willing to still give it a whirl, and I'm sure there's some that get through, but in general, that's what they ideally want. They don't want any gaps. So even if you're working PRN, staff PRN, and you're like, I'm not even working, ain't nobody know. Your profile says you're working. Your profile says you're working. So there you go.
Okay. So it's doable, basically. I mean, yeah, burnout is kind of the risk that we take. But like you said, at the end of the day, I mean, like, what nurse do you not know that don't work like 4 or 5, sometimes 6 days a week?
Right. Well, again, I think it depends on the person, right? Like, because I personally seem to attract a 50-50 split of the overachievers and the people who are just content and they're living their best life. And I'm happy for both sides. But the overachievers, I've had quite a few that work 80 to 100 hours a week. And I'm just like, what would be the difference if you picked up another travel assignment? Like, it's really not different at that point. But, my people who are living their best life and they're just doing their minimum hours, I don't see them doing that. That would really kill them. Like, it has to be something that is built into you, I feel like.
Yes, it is. I am a recovering workaholic. Let me just tell you, I used to be one of those people that would just work, like, with no days off in between. Like, you talking about 12, 14 days straight, like, of just working.
Well, like I said last week, even when I retire, I'm probably still going to work, because what am I going to do? It's a workaholic in me.
Yeah. The thing is that I want to transition is really what I'm after. And I guess that's what I need to explain more to people. It's like, I love being a nurse. I just don't like being the kind of nurse that I am now. I've outgrown what I've done, right? But I still want to continue to be a nurse. It's just what kind of nurse do I want to transition into? And so that's kind of what all of these conversations are. It's just like, travel nursing is great. And you can do travel nursing for a very long time, but there will be points in your life. I've been a travel nurse for a long time that I've had to go staff. So I did go staff when I worked at UCLA. I went staff for like 4 years or something. And then I went back home, tried the staff thing out there. I traveled a little bit, and then I went staff for another 2 years there. And then it's just like, it's ebb and flow. And you said it, people go staff for like 3 to 5 years or something. Like, fuck this. I hate this. I want to go back to travel.
Go back and get my gypsy soul on. Yeah.
I've been confined for so many years with these people that I cannot stand anymore. I want to be free. So
part of that too, if you want to try, like you're saying, like learn a new skill in nursing, like maybe that's when you're like, okay, I went staff and I'm going to work in the OR or whatever. And you're there for 2 years. And that PRN for staff is also good for that. I had a nurse that did NICU for a long time, and then she started doing PRN, and they had her between the NICU and the ICU. And then she's just been doing it for so long that she basically just picks up a NICU or ICU job whenever she feels like traveling.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped, not keep it so boring, I guess you could say.
And that's a really good point. I'm glad you bring it up. I tell everybody that they need to have multiple skill sets whenever they become a travel nurse, because you don't want to limit yourself to only being able to do one specialty, because sometimes that specialty is not either paying the most or they don't have no jobs at all. Right. And so you need to be able to be flexible with the things that you can do and be able to go to, for like me, I can do med-surg, telemetry, ICU, step down, telemetry, and whatever other little in-betweens that they've got in between there. Even like PACU, pre and post-op, some of those places.
Yeah, that's good. And I think our next episode that we're doing, we're going to do like the process and what that looks like coming in, and we'll talk more about that, because there is something to say about that. And I can even touch on like how COVID kind of changed it, and how some people might be really upset right now about the current state of the market as far as like requirements to get the job. Because during COVID, you can attest to this. You worked before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. And before COVID, it's a little bit more like it was before. And then during COVID, it was like throwing spaghetti at the wall and everything stuck and everything was a go, and it didn't matter. We're just going to wing it and figure it out and go team. And now it's like, no, we have a process. We need to do this. We need to do that. Da, 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 da. And it's like,
I'm grateful for the process. Let me tell you, because there were some nurses that were in ICU that should not have been in ICU, because you wasn't no ICU nurse. You was in there killing patients. And that's all I'm going to say. All right.
That's happening anymore, but yes, I agree to you with the extent, because for example, right now, if you're an ER nurse, they are not going to allow you to work ICU. But during COVID, they would have let you work ICU. They would have even floated you and been like, oh, well, you floated, that's good enough. And it's like two completely different ballparks.
Yes.
And then you had people who were like, well, I did ICU for the last 2-3 contracts, and then they only want to work ICU. And it's like, you're not really an ICU nurse though, but they allowed it during COVID.
Right.
Everything goes during COVID. We just need people. So now that we're back to reality, in a sense, no, like were you a nurse in ICU and the ICU only for 2 or more years? No? Okay, sorry, doesn't fly. Like, so it's a hard pill to swallow. I can understand that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right. This has been another episode with your girl Stronger Nurse and Janine with Stronger Nurse News. Thank you for tuning in and listening to what we had to say about the unfortunate reality of travel nursing. And sometimes you just got to take a staff job. So we will see you guys in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.